I want to show you how to use Google Sheets to calculate the present value when you have multiple cash flows. So here I have an example where we have cash flows for 5 years, 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500. So what are you doing? You're essentially calculating the present value of each cash flow and then adding them all up. So the present value is the cash flow in the first period divided by 1 plus the interest rate raised to the first power plus the cash flow in the second period divided by 1 plus the interest rate raised to the second power, etc. So there's several ways you can do this. So the first thing you can do is you can do this longhand. In fact, this is a good way to do it to understand the actual formula rather than using some canned program where you're not sure exactly what it does. You can simply do the calculations, let Google Sheets do this calculation for you and add it up. Alright, so here I'm going to put in the PV factor. And the PV factor is going to be equal to 1 divided by 1 plus this interest rate of 10% that I'm using. I'm going to lock that by putting a dollar sign in there. And I'm going to raise it to the power of the year. So in the first year we're going to discount by raised to the first power, in the second year by the second power, etc. And I'm going to copy this down. And let's make this a little more readable here. So we'll cut down on the number of decimal places here. So that's pretty reasonable. Okay, so now the present value in year 1 would be 100 times this. Present value in year 2 would be 200 times this, etc. So the PV of the cash flows would be equal to B4 times C4. And let's just format that in dollar terms, and we'll just copy this down. And we can go and we can sum this up. So we see this summation function here. Well, easier if we just type it in. So I'm going to sum, and it's covering up everything, so I think I'm good. I'll just highlight them to make sure I highlight the right things here. And I get 1,065 and 26 cents. All right, the second way we can do it is we can get the present value of the cash flows directly by using the PV function in Google Sheets. So here I'm going to say PV, and it tells me what variables or what arguments to put in to the function. If you don't see it here, there's a little question mark here. You can press that and it will tell you what to put in what order. You can also have this drop down menu here, or drop down information, and it'll give you more information on what these variables are. Okay, so the rate is going to be right here, and we're going to lock the cell at B2. The number of periods will be right here. The next argument is the payment amount. That's the annuity. There's no annuity here, so we're going to put in 0 for that. And then we're going to put in the future value, which is 100. In fact, it's the case that this is going to give us a negative number. So I'm going to put a negative sign in front of this so it gives us positive numbers. So we get 90.91. Again, I'll just copy that down. You can see we get the same numbers right here. Right? And if I sum them up, we'll get the same thing. Now the third way we can do it is we can use the NPV function. It turns out that the NPV function, net present value, doesn't actually compute NPV. It actually computes the present value of the cash flows. It starts discounting with the first cash flow. So rather than go through the steps of calculating the present value factor and then calculating the present value of the cash flows, or using the PV function to calculate the present value of each cash flow, we can just use the NPV function. Here we're going to put in the discount rate, 10%, and we're going to put in the cash flows and close it up, and we should get the same answer we got before. So 3 simple ways to calculate the present value for multiple cash flows using Google Sheets.